Assalamu alaikum, Farzia. Yeah, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Okay. So everything is okay for the meeting?
Yeah, everything seems to be okay. I just wanted somebody to come online and, keep reminding people, बाकी groups पे के, to join. तो या तो आप कर दें अगर आपके पास टाइम है और आप कंप्यूटर के पास हैं, या फिर मैंने सारा को कहा तो है और मैंने खुद भी एक दफा लिंक दोबारा से शेयर कर दिया सारे ग्रुप्स में, सिर्फ लिंक शेयर कर दिया है।
I'll do it, no problem.
चलें, सही है, ठीक है।
Our speaker is on her way. वो आने वाली है?
हाँ जी, मेरी अभी उनसे बात हुई है, वो मुझे उन्होंने 55 पे कहा था कि शी इज जॉइनिंग। देयर इज अ थर्ड पार्टिसिपेंट, आई एम जस्ट टेकिंग अ लुक। या तो मैं अनीका ने मुझे अस्सलाम वालेकुम। So Aneeqa did tell me that she's joining at 55. Yeah, so she'll be here definitely. Yeah, I've been chatting with her. Yeah.
Perfect. So hey, nice to have you here, Arsalan.
I was pleasantly surprised that this is an important topic, और उसपे it's a good effort, I would say.
Yeah, we are really hoping it helps because it is really, this is really important. I agree, because Canadian job market is very different from whatever people expect. So, Assalamu alaikum, Aneeqa. So our speaker is here. This is great.
Assalamu alaikum.
Unmute. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम अनीका, क्या हाल चाल?
वालेकुम सलाम, क्या हाल है?
अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह।
क्लियर है वॉइस?
हाँ जी, बिल्कुल क्लियर।
Okay.
All right, so we have a few participants on. Okay, let's give people till 2:05 and then 2:05 to 10 and then we can start.
Sure.
मैं पानी ले आती हूँ अपना इतनी देर।
हाँ, sure. No. Meanwhile, why don't we get introduction from the people who are here? I would love to know more about the community.
जी, I can start. Aslan मेरा नाम है, मैं I'm from EME 2011. So
nice. 2011, which department were you in, Ursula?
double E.
Okay, I may know your face, I guess, but sorry, there were so many people. We were
So you're in CE?
No, I was in EE as well. I was in batch of 09.
अच्छा, सही। So
yeah. So
currently I'm doing a PhD in robotics, so that's about it.
Oh, that is amazing. Well, good luck with that. And we have Faqirur Rahman and Aliza Mushtaq. I would love to know more about these guys as well.
Sure. Assalamu alaikum ji. I'm Faqir Rahman, and I done my master's in computer science from SEEGS in 2018. And currently I'm doing PhD in computer science from Montana State University.
This is amazing. Thank you for joining, Faqirur Rahman. It's so good that you are here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
And what about you, Aliza? I think she isn't around. And
I think
oh, we
it's
have
not
another participant here, Zia Farani. Zia Farani, would you like to introduce yourself to us? We would love that. Hmm. Yeah, I guess we have some connectivity issues. Okay, so anything, meanwhile, Aneeqa, why don't you know, introduce yourself, before we actually start formally in like 5 minutes? Why don't you just,
So I think
introduce yourself?
Farzia wanted to introduce, so maybe we can give
Oh, yeah,
others.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
हाँ
Sorry.
अभी मैम आप अपने आप को इंट्रोड्यूस करवाएं ना. There are so many people जो अभी नए नए आए हैं.
हाँ,
Why don't you introduce yourself?
किरण
आप सबसे senior हैं.
Sorry, कौन
तुम्हें कह रहे
हाँ.
हैं? She's
Oh,
talking
मुझे
about.
कह रही हो?
हाँ जी आपको कह रही हूँ.
Well, there's nothing special about me, so there's nothing to introduce. But yeah, my name is Kiran, and I did my bachelor's from NUST from EME in 2009. I was in the batch of 2009. Aneeqa was my class fellow, and then I came to Canada in 10. Then I did my master's from McMaster, and then I'm currently enrolled in PhD, from which I have taken a leave of absence as of now. That's
What's
pretty
your
much.
job? Because you found a very interesting job, right?
I found a job which well pays better than what the student stipend was. So why?
Of course, money always trumps, right? और मैम आप
Oh
अपने
my
आप को
God,
हमेशा ऐसे ही डाउन प्ले करती हैं. ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है. You're a very very important NUST member. Every person is a very important NUST member.
thank you for that. So we are recording this session, right? Because there are a lot of people who are messaging me personally.
Yes, I
Yeah.
did see a recording.
Good.
Yeah, so it says pause and stop. That means it is obviously recording.
Yeah, I can
Yeah,
see
but
that.
a lot of people are depending on that we are recording it. So yeah, people I guess are on the beach. I don't know. But
Yeah.
yes. Chalo, let's wait for like a minute, and then at 2:05 we can start, huh?
Sure. It's a really nice Saturday, but it's a little windy.
It's too hot. I mean,
Very hot.
घर के अंदर शायद थोड़ा गर्म होगा, लेकिन बाहर तो वो जो यूजुअल कैनेडियन विंड है वो चल रही है खूब जोरों शोर से.
चलो यार, मुझे तो बाहर जाके गर्मी लग रही है.
Yeah, it's very hot today. They even have a heat warning.
Oh really?
Yeah, till tomorrow morning.
Ma'am, start करते हैं. It's 2:05. We don't want to keep everybody. Okay.
Let's start, huh?
Okay, so hello, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome everyone to NUSTIAN Canada's webinar on informational interview sessions. So as you know, NUSTIAN Canada is a not-for-profit organization run by an amazing group of NUST alumni who aim to better the lives of NUSTIANs in Canada. They basically do this by arranging in-person network and information events. Since 2009, though, we have also started a series of webinars. Our aim is to provide as much knowledge to you as our community as we can, so that you can become more successful in Canada. A few of our other webinars that we had include taxpayer basics and home buyer basics. If you want to go back and check those out, they are available on our Facebook page, NUSTIAN Canada. We are also available on LinkedIn if you would like to network over there. So let's talk about today's session. During the 1 hour that we have today, we'll explore the power of informational interviews to find a job in Canada. Our esteemed speaker is Aneeqa Ishaq, who is also a graduate of NUST EME. She also has a master's in learning, design, and technology from Stanford. After Stanford, she pursued the path of multidisciplinary design leadership, gathering more than 8 years of work experience across North America, Europe, and South Asia. So currently she's working as a UX practice lead with the RBC Wealth Management Experience Design Team in Toronto. Let's hear her story of how she started informational interviews and what she learned in the process. So Aneeqa, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Farzia. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Very nice to meet you, and very nice to be on this forum today. It always reminds me of the time spent in EME in us, so lots of good memories there. So thank you so much for having me. So basically, the context is I moved to Canada in 2018. And then for a while, I took a maternity leave. So when I started to look for jobs in 2019, I started in the traditional way, right? Like I was applying online and, just, on the portals or, submitting my application through recruiters. And that was right before pandemic, like late 2019, early 2020. But I wasn't getting any interesting response, even after having, relevant experience, and I kept hearing the word, Canadian experience, and I'm sure a lot of you might have be familiar with that term, right? So then I started to rethink the strategy, like, what's the difference? Because I had worked in the United States before, so I felt that, it would be similar, like Canadian economy, Canadian market, but really it was very different. And I think the difference was that, Canada is a much smaller market. It's a much smaller economy. Like if you start working within a field, after a while, you'll start to know people, who are in the same industry, and you'll understand that, it's a very small community in every field. It's not like United States. So basically here, employers, like to know you personally. They want to have that personal connection, when they're hiring a team member. Again, like in Canada, really what they say is, your network is your net worth. And it's really true, because whoever you learn from them about all the job opportunities. And a lot of times, like, job opportunities come out and you may not even hear about them, right? Or you may not be even in the know-how, like, this company is hiring, or this company is even, investing in this domain. Um, and that only happens, when you are really active in your network, when you know the right people, when you are really well connected, and you are, keeping tabs on what is happening in the industry. So then, job search equates your network, right? Like, so it's the key problem is not, like you are searching for a job. The key issue is here, like, how do you grow a network, or how do you expand a network? Or even for some of us immigrants, how do you create a network from scratch in a new country? And then when you add pandemic to the mix, then, that's an even other problem, right? Like, how do you create a network? How do you expand your network in a new country in pandemic, when everything is remote, when everything is virtual? So that was really my challenge at the start of 2020. And how I went about it is, I just started to learn about the industry. I would just, request people for just 20-minute coffee chats virtually, or phone calls, or informational interviews. So then I could learn about different companies, different organizations, what is their focus, is it even relevant to me, is it even interesting to me, and do they find my work relevant? So I did that for several months. Like it's a process, right? Like you start, and then you eliminate some of the companies where you think it's not really what you are looking for, and then you sort of keep going. And after a while, when connection keeps happening, like you start to see, like, this is a company which seems really interesting in my past experience. I really like what they do. That's when the magic happens. So today I want to take you through that, some of the tips which I did, some of the strategies, and some more tactical ideas on how to actually implement that strategy. So the first step, in expanding your network through information interviews, basically starts at home, right? Like, you don't need to go out in the world. You just start with your friends and family. So anybody in your relatives, your friends, your spouse, even this group like NUSTIAN Canada, right? Like, I think there are 300 plus members. So even if I discount, like, maybe 3 of the people are working in the same organization, so even then there could be 100 different organizations represented through NUSTIAN Canada, right? So even if we start from there, there are like 100 different companies which you can explore. So basically just start with your friends and family, your NUSTIAN community, and ask them, I really like this company. I think they are doing what I would be interested in. Can you introduce me to someone in your network? You can even, go one step further and do your homework. Let's say, Farzia, you go on LinkedIn and, search through Farzia's profile and you say, okay, Farzia works in Scotia and, I see this person who is in her network. I would love to talk to that person. So maybe just, ask a very specific request from Farzia that, Farzia, please introduce me to this person. And that's about it, right? Like they don't have to do anything. They don't have to share your resume. They don't have to ask them to give you a job. It's nothing more than, just an introduction, just a learning conversation, right? So keep it about learning, like just ask them that, I want to learn about the company. I want to learn about the work, just introduce me, as simple as that. So that's the first step, like start from, friends and family. And then you can treat informational interviews as a learning exercise, right? Like you want to learn about their work and they want to learn about you, right? So how can they learn about you? They can learn about you when you are open, right? Like you are open to share your story, you're open to share your experience, you're not hesitant, you are being your genuine self. So feel free to share your story that, this is what I have done, this is where I have lived, these are some of my experience, this is something I enjoy, I'm looking for this type of thing. So just be yourself, just be a natural conversationalist during that interview. And during that conversation or informational interview, what is your goal, right? Like it's always best to start with the end goal in mind. So our goal is to have a successful conversation with the person you're talking to, right? Like, and what is a successful conversation if your aim is to eventually land a job? It's to really make a connection with the interviewer, to really when they say I clicked with that person. So we want to have that feeling of I clicked, or they clicked with me, or the company clicked with me, or their work clicked with me. Because when we start to find these common things, we start to like these people. Like if I'm talking to someone and we clicked over some common things, maybe it's about the work they do, or for me, like if I work in UX, we talk about user experience and we like something, I like their thoughts, that's when the connection happens. That's where we both click. And if I like how they think, if I like their ideas, if I like that person, I would be willing to do more for them without them even asking, right? Like that's how the society works. Like we do things for people who we like, whose work we admire, and we do it without them even asking for it. So that's really our goal for the informational interview, that establish that connection, establish that feeling of we clicked. And then they would even offer them some of the favors without you asking, right? Like if they like you, if they like your work, they want to help you, they want to give back to the community, they would offer you things. So that's really the goal. And the last few minutes of the informational interview are, where some action items happen, right? Like when you're in a company, you are in a meeting, you discuss few things, you click over a few things, some of the thoughts are put together, and then, there are some action items. So last few minutes of informational interview are where some action items happen. So if you had a really good connection, you read the room, right? Like, so you are looking for some of the unspoken cues, like they are conversing with you, they are resonating some of your ideas, you are having a natural conversation. And then they say, okay, I really like what you're saying, I really like your past experience, how can I help you? So that's really the point where you can ask for something. So maybe, and it's really good to come prepared, right? Like if you're saying you are talking to someone in RBC, do your homework. Like tell them, okay, I found some of these job postings, can you refer me for this job? Or even better, if they know the hiring manager or the person in the team, you can ask for another connection, right? Like, can you introduce me to that person? I would love to hear about their work, I would love to hear about this job position directly from the team, right? So that's where you have some follow-up action items. And this is what I call is creating a snowball effect. Like you are talking to that person, you learned about their work, you learned about the company, you liked some of the things, they like you, and now your goal is to, make even further connections, or, get closer to your goal of securing a job. Maybe you can, ask them for another connection in the team, or, connection to the hiring manager. But really creating that snowball effect helps, like, for example, if a person is interviewing in a company and they get a referral from another person in the same company, they would value that referral more. And they would even pick the phone and talk to them, like, how do you know this person? And when the person says that, this person took some time out, they talked to me, and, I really liked, what they were saying, I thought they were experienced, they were competent, then, that's a very solid reference, right? So we don't want to, just go in an informational interview and say, can you refer me? We want to first make that connection so a person can trust you, the person can trust your abilities, and then, they feel themselves very comfortable in, recommending you to a hiring manager, to another team member, or even if, like sometimes there may not be an opportunity, but they may think that, there would be an opportunity a couple weeks down or a few months down, and then they can introduce you to an interesting person in, your domain. So that's the snowball effect, right? Like one person is talking to you, then they're introducing you to the next person, that person is maybe introducing you to their boss. So our goal is to really create that series of reactions. And at the same time, when you're making these connections, put your analytical hats on, right? Like we are all engineers, so put your thinking hats on, make notes. Okay, I learned this about the company, I like this. Maybe even eliminate some of those companies, like what I heard from the interview, I didn't like the company culture, right? So it's completely fair to have, this sort of analytical conversation happening in your mind, and this sort of selection and elimination process. So this is basically a strategic overview of how to go about doing informational interviews, like using your friends and families, be really genuine, making that connection, and creating a snowball effect. But how do we actually implement this strategy, right? So what are some tactics we can do? So one tool which I found really useful is LinkedIn. So if you are looking for a new job, or even if you are just looking to expand your network, or connect to people, or even sometimes you're not looking for a job, maybe you just want to talk to other people who are doing a similar thing, other engineers, or you want to just talk to them, share your experiences, discuss some of your challenges, you can still use the same strategy. And the practical tactic is make LinkedIn your best friend. So if you haven't created a profile, create a profile, keep it fully updated, get LinkedIn Premium. I think the investment is worth it. It's I think around 35 Canadian dollars a month. um, so I think that's the minimum you can do for your learning, right? So invest in that, and then start using it very actively every week. So there's a search bar on the top, so you can search for people there, right? So you can even search by university. Like it's always good to start with the common ground. So maybe you can say, I did my undergrad at NUST, and you look for all the people who have been to NUST. Maybe you have studied at a local university, say McMaster or Waterloo or any of these universities. Maybe use that filter, because then when you would reach out to those people with a common ground, a common interest, a common alma mater, people are more willing to support, because they have memories, they have associations, and then they want to help their fellow alumni. So use some of those common things. Another thing you can do is also just search by the company. Let's say you really want to work at some certain company, maybe Amazon, Google, whatever, wherever your interests lie. So search by that company, and then create a very crisp InMail. So if you're not familiar with an InMail, so InMail is a feature in LinkedIn which lets you message people directly, right? Like even if they are not in your network. So, but you can only do that with LinkedIn Premium. So once you have LinkedIn Premium, then you can search for these people, send them a message, and then keep that message very brief. Like there's no need to attach your resume because, LinkedIn is your resume, right? So it's all there. So if they want to look at what your experience is, they can come look at your LinkedIn profile. And again, keep it around learning, right? Like we don't want to cold message people and ask them, oh, I'm looking for a job, can you give me one? Right? So that really puts people off, that puts a lot of pressure, and people don't want to disappoint you when they don't have a job for you, right? But if you say that, I'm just looking to learn, this is my experience, I have 5 years experience in this, I just want to learn more about the industry. If you are new to Canada, you can even play that card. People really love to help new immigrants, because at the end of the day, everybody came from someplace, right? So everybody's practically an immigrant, right? So they want to help others. So just say that I'm new, I'm looking to understand the industry here, I really like what you're doing in this company, can you take out 20 minutes of your time to talk to me, and I would love to learn more. And you would be surprised how many people say yes. So let's say if you are sending out 10 messages, some weeks maybe all 10 of them respond, some weeks maybe 3 of them, some weeks maybe 5. So a lot of people respond, right? So don't be hesitant, use that. And again, you're not asking them for any favor, right? You're just asking to learn. And a lot of us, people like to help, and they are sort of teaching you, they're grooming you. So there's no shame in asking for that help. And again, as I said, it's a process, right? Like it's not, oh, I start with one information interview and I will get to it, like I would get a job next week or next month. It does take a few months. It does take some time to build your network, build your connections. And some interviews, they may not go as well, right? Like sometimes interviewer may be in a different state of mind, they are busy, they are at home, their kids are doing online school. So life happens. So some interviews may be even awkward, right? Like you were not able to establish that connection. But don't think of it as a failure, right? Like just learn from it, read the room. If the connection is not happening, it's all right, you did your best. Maybe and reach out to another person, maybe you will make a connection with them, maybe you will click on something. So just keep going. And also treat it as an improvement exercise. Like keep improving your message, like whatever message you are sending an email, keep tweaking it. Whatever pitch you are telling them when you are talking, keep improving them. Keep improving your LinkedIn. If they ask for a resume, make sure resume is already updated. But again, every time just keep improving. um, and also it's not a one-time thing, right? Like if you talk to one person, they were very happy to connect to you, they added to you to the LinkedIn, just keep an eye out, right? Like keep catching up. Like maybe if they switch jobs, or if they switch departments, or if they get promoted, or if something happens, they share an article, engage with them, because that reminds you that they are there. And it also reminds them that this was someone who reached out to me, they are still interested, and if something comes up, they would reach out to you. So make sure that you are maintaining your old connections. You're not just focusing on the new ones. And once you are, sort of, you have a lot of connections, you are keeping up to date with them. The best case scenario is, maybe they would be hiring, or maybe they hear of something, and maybe they'll reach out to you. And they'll say, this is a job opening in my company, do you want to apply? I can put an internal referral to you. So at that time, you have to be super ready. Like you have to have everything tailored, like tailor your resume, tailor your LinkedIn, and be ready to talk to recruiter. And then, once you are through the recruiter, then you are in front of the hiring manager, right? So all the work which you had done, that really helps, because all those people you talked to before actually getting in front of the hiring manager, that hiring manager would actually contact them, right? Like that's how it works in organizations. Like when somebody applies to my team in RBC, we ask other people, like, have they interviewed with you, or why are you referring to them, what makes you think they are a good candidate? So they would ask about you. So make sure all your conversations, they are genuine and natural, but they're also professional, right? Because that's sort of the track record and history you are building. So basically, I think that's about it. And in order for this to be successful, is there are some prerequisites, right? Like one prerequisite is, be in a growth mindset that, I would be treating it as a process, but I would also be improving through it. I would making small tweaks, make sure everything is ready. Your resume, cover letter, it's tailored for every job. It's not a generic application. And then, your career story, your elevator pitch, that's also ready. So those are some of the prerequisites when you want to start this process. Because once you are there, sometimes you're busy, and you're talking next day to a person, there may not be enough time for you to now sit down and get everything ready. But if you are already in the mindset, you're ready, right? Like when those conversations are happening. And I've seen this, in my own personal experience. This was really helpful to me, right? Like the first few months, I focused on only in learning and informational interviews. I was thinking, what organizations are relevant to me, because I was very new to the industry. I was also coming from a year gap in my career. So I wanted to make sure that, I am up to date, what's happening in the industry. I'm targeting the right organizations. And then after a while, when pandemic was here to stay and companies started rehiring, then a lot of my interviews came through this, right? Like I was just up to date in my network, and then people mentioned that, okay, you reached out to us, this is a position, would you be interested in applying, right? So it's not that this doesn't happen, it happens, like but you have to have faith in the process. You have to have faith in yourself, and just go in it with a growth mindset. So that's about it. If you have any questions, I would take them now. And thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Aneeqa. We'll start. If anybody has any questions, either you can put them in the chat, or you can, unmute yourself and ask the question right here. So before anybody starts, Aneeqa, I have a question. How long did this process take you? How many months? Like there's a target if you want to give people a figure?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was off and on. Like I started first in January, and that like last year, right, 2020. So I was able to do some of my information interviews in person, and they were actually going towards a job. And then pandemic happened, and people stopped hiring, so some of those positions were removed. So then I had to restart again, during pandemic. But what I want to say is, it only takes one successful informational interview, or one successful click. So around July, I again did a very casual conversation. I was just interested in learning about someone's work, and then then they thought my work was relevant to them, and they were looking for someone for contract. And then it just went very quickly from there. So it may take few months, but if there's a natural connection, it may expedite. And also, what I would suggest is it's easier to find a new job, or even a switch, when you already have a job, right? When you're out of the market for a little bit longer, people start questioning why, and they start thinking, are you really up to date? But once you're in the market, it's very easy to make a switch, right? So even if you get something, a job which is not exactly what you wanted, it's maybe not full time, it's maybe contract, I would encourage, like if it's offers you some growth, some learning, go for that. Because once you have a job, it's very easy to switch, right? So first I found that contract position, but I knew that my contract was limited. I still wanted a full time. So even while I was working for that firm, I was also still doing my informational interviews, my real interviews, and then I was able to find a job before my contract ended, right, in December. And I started working full time in January this year. So it may take a few months, but again, sometimes it's really, there's no formula, there's nothing right? Like if a connection happens for you, if a click happens, or if you find something, or the economy is right, or the timing is right, you may find something very quick. Or you may get something, like a stepping stone position, like a contract position, and then you may be able to convert it to a full time, or you may be able to find another one. So it's really, everyone's experience is different. I think the key is to focus on your best effort, putting your best foot forward, and then leaving the rest to Allah.
Okay, so another one, basically from what you talked about, I gathered that you also had face-to-face interviews with a lot of the people that you talked to, right? So you would first of all start off with writing to them on LinkedIn and making a connection. How would you move that to a face-to-face conversation? Like, how do you suggest moving that? Not everybody is comfortable with a face-to-face conversation, and not everybody has the time. So,
Yeah,
how
so
would you
I kept
suggest?
it very simple, right? Like I wouldn't ask them to come on Zoom if it was difficult, right? Like
Mhm.
sometimes I would just say, I can call you on phone whenever you have 20 minutes free, right? Or sometimes, some people say, like I get up early in the morning and 6:30 a.m. I go out for a walk. That's the only time I have. Can you call me during that time? And I would be happy to help you, right? So keep it as simple as possible, because they don't owe you anything, right? Like they are doing
Exactly.
this as a favor. Everybody is busy, it's pandemic, lots of things are going on, family, work, um, just also the stress of sitting in front of the computer all the time, it's draining, right? Like people
Exactly.
are already in 10 meetings a day in front of Zoom, in front of all these digital tools. So maybe just give them flexibility, like I can talk to you anytime when you are free. I can give you a phone call. So just that willingness, that flexibility, people can work with that. So it doesn't even have to be face to face. Like lots of my informational interviews were over phone, right? Because again, it was easier for me, it was easier for them. We don't have to sit, we don't have to get ready, we don't have to be prepared, we just have to talk.
Yeah.
So I would again suggest, like, if that makes things easy for you and the people you are reaching out, just do that.
Okay. Okay. So, anybody, any other tips that you have for the interview, like for the entire session? Like, what ticks you off? If there is a person, and you feel like there could be a connection, but that person is not really interested, you would just,
Yeah, so
leave
again,
them.
don't be like, if you ask for 30 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
don't be like a time checker, like they have to give you 30 minutes, right? Like if it's just read the room, right? Like it's like friendship, right? Like, you're talking to some person, but that click is not happening, that connection is not happening, the conversation is not flowing naturally. End it earlier. Ask them, okay, it seems like you are busy, there's a lot on your plate. Thank you so much for your time. Maybe we can chat another time, right? So you don't
Okay.
have to be really strict and stubborn about it, like, oh, they promised me 30 minutes and they have to talk to me 30 minutes, right? Like they don't owe you anything. And
Yeah.
it's not fun, when it's not a natural conversation, right? Like and if people are enjoying the conversations, they would stay sometimes over time. So again, like treat it as a conversation, like you don't have to prove that you are super qualified, or you are like you don't have to tell them that you had 4 GP or blah blah blah. You just have to talk about your interests. You have to talk as people connect when they are starting a new relationship. And then just let the conversation flow from there. A lot of times people connect over some things which are common, or if some things they enjoy doing, like if they are a developer, they enjoy a particular language. If you talk about that, people relate over those things, like, oh yeah, I enjoy that language, or I don't. Or maybe people talk about some tools, right? Like, oh, I prefer Mural over Miro, or I don't enjoy that tool. Or so you can have some of these opinions. So it's really good to be up to date, what's happening in the industry. So you can have that sort of conversation very easily. Another thing,
Mm-hmm.
as Canadians, we always like to talk about the weather, our family. So that's always a very easy icebreaker. Oh, the weather is terrible today, it's super hot, it's super windy, right? And people would connect. So again, be as natural as possible, because at the end of the day, people are not hiring resources, right? Like people are hiring humans. People are hiring team members.
Yeah.
And we all can do good work, right? But after like a very busy day, it's really important for people to be able to talk to that person, be not work with with a colleague who is very difficult, right? So people want to see that, is there a culture fit? Is this person
Mm-hmm.
being their genuine self? Is this person easy to talk to? Is this person fun to hang out with, right? So people are looking for those kind of cues. So again, just be your natural self, just treat it as a conversation, and just go with the flow.
Okay. Thank you. I think people have some questions. I think Arsalan has a question. Arsalan, would you like to unmute your mic?
Ji, Assalamu alaikum.
Right.
Aneeqa, thank you for a very informative and straightforward discussion, in which I believe, I mean, all of us enjoy, including my friends here who also know me here. So a bit about the question of engagement. So once we have those connections, let's say we go out, we talk to 20, 15 people, and actually it's a long, I agree with you, it's a lifelong process. You keep on doing that even if you are already employed.
Yeah.
Well, and after some time you develop a network.
Yeah.
How do you maintain that network? Like what are some tips in your opinion to keep other people engaged? Like it's not like a one-time, like it's not a one-time thing. Like okay, I talked to a person, I had an informational interview, I connected with that person as well, maybe clicked as well, and maybe I had a chat with that person after 6 months, and then I never got back to that person. So how do we maintain these relationships? Any tips on that?
Yeah, so that's a very interesting question, right? And it's not just about maintaining that connection in a virtual environment or LinkedIn, right? Like you just don't have to only comment on their posts or likes, it's beyond that, right? So think of it as similar to as having a family or your friends, right? Like how do your relationships thrive? How do your relationships go on, right? Even this NUSTIAN Canada community, how do we function as a community, right? So a community is based on give and take, right? Like doing things for others without expecting things for yourself, right? Like if you're giving back, if you're sharing, that's keeping the relationship going. You are not keeping count, or this person can help me, maybe I should just go on and like all their posts, right? Like it's not about that. It's not making that very very focused attempt on just focusing on one person. It's just about giving to the community. So look out for things when people ask for help or support. Let's say somebody says, for example, in NUSTIAN Canada, people say, oh, we need somebody to do a critique of a resume. Would anyone be willing to help, right? So that's your chance of giving back. And you never know who other people are on that panel, right? Like maybe it's 5 other people, and then you make 5 those connections, and then you can have conversations with those 5 people in 5 different organizations, and things just open up, right? So when we are giving back, we are also receiving a lot of things. We are also receiving that connection, that experience, that learning. Similarly, let's say somebody says, I am teaching this course, I need someone to come and critique my students' work, or maybe mentor them. So again, this may not seem something which would help you developing a new connection, but you never know. Like you go in there again, you are giving critique to those students, you are helping them, then they remember you. You never know where they end up, how they remember you, how much they value that experience. So that's how you sort of giving back to the community, sharing. If you learn something new, maybe if your organization is hiring something for a particular role, maybe you can share that with community. So again, thinking of ways in which you can help people would indirectly help you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. I think Umar also has another question. Umar, would you like to unmute your mic?
Yeah, thank you guys for the for this I don't know what you call it, but I really appreciate the informational interview, the information that you're giving. So the question I had was about basically the way you go about asking for these informational interviews. Basically, in your case, it was the case was that you were looking for a job. But in a different case where you already have a job and you're sort of trying to switch your field or something like that, how do you go about approaching someone with that intention? Like, how do you justify your intention to sort of pivot from what career path you're on? Because I think wouldn't the other person get the impression that that basically you're undecided and that you're not sure about how you want to proceed with your career, wouldn't you? How would you avoid giving that impression, and how would you go about effectively trying to network in that position?
Yeah, so I think that's a very good question. You can follow a similar strategy, similar tactics there. Again, people love to talk about what they do, right? Like, especially in pandemic, I have seen like, people are not getting a lot of other social networking opportunities. So they are even more willing to, sometimes jump up on such calls. So again, similar approach, have a very crisp message, maybe 2 to 3 lines, I work here, I do this, but I'm also really interested in learning about this topic. I have always found it very exciting. I would love to have, 20-30 minutes with you and learn more about what exactly happens in a position like this, right? Like, for example, you're a developer. You can say that, eventually I want to move into product management, but I would love to hear about your experience as a product manager. I would love to hear what it actually entails. And, people are happy to share their experience, like, as a society, I think Canadians are very happy. And, whenever it comes to sharing about what you do, that really gets people going, right? Like, somebody is interested in listening to them, right? Like, what's their job, what do they do? So people like to share that. So don't think that they would judge you, or they would think, oh, they are undecided, because you're not asking for anything, right? Like, you're not asking for a job, you're not asking for a referral, you're just asking for 20 minutes of their time where they get to talk about their work. So again, similar strategy, keep it very crisp, 2 to 3 lines, again, just simply asking to learn about what they do.
Yeah.
Okay, and I have another question. Do I have time for another question, or do I have to yield the time to someone else?
Fazia, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Umar.
Yeah, okay. The other question was, okay, for me, the process was especially challenging because I actually started my master's immediately after my bachelor's that I did in NUST, and I had no work experience to speak of. Fortunately, I did land a job, but the process was, I think, challenging for me because a lot of the strategies that you mentioned, they did not work. For me personally, I think because of my specific situation, what do you think? Do you have anything geared towards someone who doesn't have much experience to speak of? Or is there a strategy that you think is better applied early in the career? Because you did mention that you had significant experience while you were looking for a job, right? So do you have any tips for someone early in their career?
Yeah, so I think for someone early who doesn't have much experience, one key strategy would be to get that experience, right? Like, success begets success, and experience gets you more experience. So like, if you are studying in a local university, maybe look for programs which offer you internship or co-op. Like, it's not just study, it's also study plus work. And if that doesn't happen, even looking for some volunteer positions, or sometimes there are unpaid internships. So looking for some things like that would help, again, because that would give you an insider foot into an organization. It gets your foot into the door. You get some experience, you volunteer some places, you maybe do an internship, because a lot of times organizations do remember the co-ops, do remember the interns, and when that position comes up, they would like to go back to them, right? Because in big organizations, they invest a lot in talent, right? Like, even if it's an intern, they have invested their time, and it's important for them to value their own time. So instead of investing the same time in a new person, if they have already an intern or a co-op, it's easier for them to bring them in, right? Another thing which we can do is, these days it's become very easier to attend webinars or conferences, right? Like, you don't have to travel, you don't have to go anywhere, you don't have to pay for lodging. It's all online, and a lot of such opportunities are free, right? So take advantage of them. Even ask the organizers if they need any sort of volunteer, right? Like, I can help with this. I would love to just help out with that event. Again, you're giving back, but you're also getting a lot of things back, like indirectly, like when you are helping them organize, or even when you are, just attending it, you're making connection, you're getting to know about like 10 people. You may not have heard their name before, or you may not have known that these are experts in this space. And then, you can later on go talk to them, if there are open sessions, or if there are networking sessions virtually, or even, you can just look them up on LinkedIn and then drop them a line, I loved your talk. So everybody likes to be complimented, everybody likes to be admired again. So that's a very quick strategy, like, I heard your talk, I loved it, maybe even, quote a line from it, and I would love to chat more about it. Would you be able to give me, 15-20 minutes of your time? So I think those things help. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much. I did note some of these down. Yeah, those were the questions that I had. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Umar. Thank you so much, Aneeqa. I think we have, I don't think we have any more questions. This webinar is, of course, being recorded. And so if anybody wants to go back and look at whatever points Aneeqa shared with us, they can always go back and take a look. If you don't have any more questions, I would like to give the floor to another initiative that NUSTIAN Canada is starting, which is Resume Clinic. The people heading this initiative are Ali Daud and Ali Munir. So if Ali Daud and Ali Munir would like to take the floor and speak a little bit about this initiative, please.
Yes, thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. And thank you, Aneeqa, for all the insights. Very helpful indeed. Before I proceed, just to add to the question that Umar asked, volunteering is very underrated if you come to think of it. Like I personally felt that in my master's, because especially the students who come here on their bachelor's, right? And it's not, it doesn't have to be confined within the university. I've seen people who have their who are engineering students, but they are volunteering at a hospital, right? So it's all about networking, and that is one form. And this way, it saves the company a lot of money. If they see a candidate with potential, that is a cost saving for the HR department, right? Because they don't have to go through the recruitment process. So that is one thing to keep in mind alongside reaching out to people. And I think that's the stereotype that we have to break. People here love elevator pitch and just reaching out and helping each other. So you have to be active on LinkedIn, and even if you're not. While you're working looking for a job, sorry, you can continue to share articles, comment on people who are industry leaders, see what's happening, what's trending, and that will eventually help. But I won't take more time on this one because Aneeqa covered that comprehensively. Thank you for that. The reason why we wanted to do this is because I was actually surprised when I took a skill development course during my master's, and I was actually surprised how different the resume structure is here as compared to back home. And it's not just the basic one. It's targeted towards the kind of job that you're doing, you're hunting. And the fact that there's a saying that says, if you want to gauge yourself on a score that how good of a candidate you are for a job, just see how much time you've spent creating a resume or cover letter for that. So if you're just copy pasting stuff from here and there, that means that if you're not spending enough time on your resume, you cannot expect the recruiter to spend the same amount of time looking through that your qualifications, right? So in that case, what I figured out was that there are like three major formats of resumes. There's a chronological order. If you have extensive work experience, you can use that because that trumps all your volunteer or student experience because you have like good 10-15 years of professional experience. So that is what you want to cash in on. And there's this functional resume, which is what Umar, to your point, kind of relates to somebody who's either very new or somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience. So in that case, they can kind of do a mix or maybe highlight the skills that they have acquired. And it can be like, for example, team building skills or leadership skills. And it doesn't have to be, you do not have to portray leadership skills by doing a very high level project or very expensive project. You can just say, I was a team leader for 6 years in my bachelor's or in my master's for a couple of years for orientation, annual orientation, for example, right? Or you can continue with different student groups and say, you were awarded maybe the student leadership for that year. So that kind of adds to your resume. The main thing that you have to realize here is that what I've seen is people gauge your resume by your skills that are backed by something that you have done. So you can add all the fancy words that you want, but if you do not show that how did you acquire that skill, they just skim through it. Like, and on a personal experience, I was told that, we will only consider your experience that you have in Canada, and we will not consider anything back home in Pakistan. So that was like 6 years skimmed off my resume in one of the jobs, because they had no metrics to gauge what I did there. Right here, I could relate to say, I was part of XYZ organization, which they knew. So they knew what kind of the work culture they have, right? So that is these are the nitty-gritty things that you tend to you have to cater for. And outside of that, the last one, which most likely we do go after, is the hybrid one that has everything crammed into a 2 or 3 page format. That is not needed. So if you volunteered for something, or if you had work experience that was right outside right after graduating, and is not related to your career, and you're say 10 years pass into the professional industry, you do not have to write that. Nobody actually bothers if you were a brilliant student back in 07 or 08, because that is a thing of the past, right? Because now you have like a full-fledged scaled qualifications that they can use. So these are some of the things. So that is why I actually wanted to be a part of this this initiative. And so that like one, before I do go there, one particular example is, nobody adds a picture to your resume here, and like back home you have like a really nice passport size picture on almost all the resumes, right? That is frowned upon here, actually. So those are some of the things that that are different, people don't realize. And then and that kind of takes away all the effort that you've done beneath your resume, because if it's not attractive on a first look, nobody's going to bother to read it. So that is why I wanted to take this initiative, so I can help people out, because that is something that somebody else did it for me. So I would just wanted to pay it forward. And I like to that is just a high level overview, and I would like to invite Ali Munir to go over the cover letter part, because I'm pretty sure he has some useful insights on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. So I think there is a link for your Resume Clinic WhatsApp group. Right now we are only on WhatsApp. After the event, we are going to share that link on all the main groups again. If anybody wants to join and get their resume critiqued, please do reach out to Ali Dawood and excuse me, and Ali Munir. I think that wraps up our session for today. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Thank you so much, Aneeqa, for your time. This is a really beautiful Saturday, and everybody's here to understand more. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Ali Dawood and Ali Munir. And have a good day, everybody. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.